Change your heart, change your life, change the planet.
Hi everybody, it's Tim Van Orden, and today I want to talk about the difference between starting where you are and starting here. In college, a buddy of mine from Beverly Hills was having dinner with me in the dining hall, and there was some pie. And he was really excited for this pie, and he took a bite of it, and his face just grimaced, and he spit the pie back on the plate, and he said, "Oh my God, that is the worst cherry pie I have ever had." And I looked at him, and I said, "That's strawberry rhubarb pie." And he said, "What's rhubarb?" He had no idea what it was. He just saw red things in a pie. Nobody's ever heard of strawberry pie, but back east, strawberry rhubarb pie is quite common. Beverly Hills, he had never interacted with that. So his brain said red pie must be cherry. Horrible cherry pie. But then when he took another bite, after I told him that it was strawberry rhubarb and what that was, he liked it. It took him a moment, but then he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's pretty good." And then he wolfed it down. But prior to that, he brought him and his history and his expectations into that experience. And because he did so, he had a negative experience, even though the pie is quite delicious. There are a lot of people out there that are going to tell you to start where you are. But there's a problem with that. I'm starting where I am, or you are starting where you are. And it's the you that's problematic. Because we can talk about preferences, we can talk about our needs, our likes, our desires, our goals, our motivations, what inspires us, what our belief systems are, what our trajectory is, etc. That's where you are, but that's not what is. So when I start where I am, I'm going to start with those filters in place, and I'm going to start with a narrative. I'm going to start with a history, and I'm going to compare myself to that history, and that's part of starting where I am right now. Like, okay, I am injured, and that injury is only relevant in relation to my history. It's only relevant in relation to my story. It's not relevant to the world around me. It's not relevant to here. But what I hear when I'm here is a filtered data set. I hear just some of the information coming in, the things that my brain thinks are relevant based on my story, based on my narrative, based on who I am as an identity or as an individual. But when you start here, you're focused outward, you're not focused inward. You're not saying, how does this moment relate to me right now? You simply say, what's here in this moment? What's available? What's showing up? You're not filtering things out before you interact with them. You're taking in as much as you possibly can and then saying, you know what? I might have filtered that out in the past, but that's interesting. I like that. Let me go talk to that person. Let me read this thing. Let me do this activity that has nothing to do with who I was before. But if I bring me to this location and I start where I am, well, then wherever you go, there you are. Meaning that you bring you with you, and you bring all the filters that you place on the world. You bring all the heuristics or rules of thumb. You bring all the biases that are part of who you are. Everyone has biases. What we feel about the world, what our brain is choosing to let in, and what our brain chooses to exclude, what group you affiliate with and identify with, and how you push away messages that are not part of that groupthink. These are all biases and heuristics that we use to navigate the world, to make it simpler. Because the world's pretty complex. But only if we try to understand it, only if we try to wrap our brain around it. But it's bigger than what our brain can wrap, which is why we get lost. We just don't have the cognitive resources. But if you surrender to what's here, if you surrender to the moment, suddenly there's no effort. You're just letting things in. Now, of course, your brain is still going to be doing some filtering. There's no way around that. But you're going to do your best not to cognitively filter, not to choose to filter, not to define yourself prior to the moment. I am injured in this moment. So let me engage in this moment as an injured athlete. What does my injury have to do with this moment? What does my injury have to do with anybody else that might come into this space with me? Nothing, unless I say it does. Most people are not as physically able as I am due to my training. Even when I'm injured, I can still do more than most my age. So, am I really injured if my ability to engage in physical activity is greater than the average person at my age? Do they consider themselves injured? I doubt it. Unless they actually have an injury, they probably just see themselves as them. But even me being more capable, I bring along a story of injury, and therefore I bring along a story of decreased ability. But that's just my story. So what happens if I start here and just let it show up? Let the moment teach me. Let myself be open to the moment. Let it percolate into me. And then figure out what I want to engage with. Then figure out what I know. Then figure out what I like. All right? I hope there's some value in there for you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.